If I should talk about things like that. I think the only things I should talk about are how angry I make people, betting accounts because I care about them, right? We should make CSS bet.
CSS bet. I love
That
gambling.
Can we get a DraftKings sponsorship? That's your cold open. Welcome back to Mariner Mondays. It is a relatively quiet last week. We had to kind of put things together for this week's show. As always, Jake Parr, Brittany Wisner join Charles over here for another Mariner Mondays show. I remember when we first started, I did call it Mariners Mondays. I didn't like the S, so we dropped it. Um, I think the real developments that we've gotten are the Ryan Divish through the chain link fence videos. That's kind of all we've gotten so far this week. As you know, the players start to head down to Peoria. A lot of them are already there or have been there as spring training begins to, really get underway. I think we're about a week out from the first like broadcast game they do, or it might be a webcast. Either way,
Friday.
is
It's on
yeah.
Friday.
So as long as we were able to see that, that's all I care about. Um, I mean, there are some positive notes, I guess, in terms of health. And the kind of the start to the show is just early thoughts on that and maybe feelings as we get into spring training. Troy Taylor, who we mentioned, I believe it was last week with Jerry's thoughts and how that segment goes. Mentioning that Troy Taylor had a lat strain and might miss some time. He did. Um, there was a positive update on Troy Taylor, which is nice to hear about. Just, lat strain isn't ideal, and the way that Jerry talked about it, it seemed like Troy would begin his season, still kind of working out of the Peoria Sports Complex. There hasn't been anything that says no, that's fine. He's good to go now. But he's been cleared to resume throwing, so that's nice to see. Another nice thing in Matt Brash's recovery as he comes back from Tommy John is that he threw a bullpen recently. I know Jerry also said that they thought he might be back at the end of April, and people were like, "That's not possible. He's not doing that." And I don't know. I mean, I still got to see it, right? But it's nice to see him kind of continue his recovery. Seeing him around, excuse me, the ballpark was nice at the end of the year. He just kind of seemed happy to be there. Um, and the Mariners posted even in the offseason that he was working out. But outside of that, it's kind of been guys throwing bullpens. Cole Young has a mustache, if that moves you.
Good one.
Um, and uh nice to know that Victor Robles is back. I think the most important news is Tucker is there. That's the most important things. Brittany, as I know you're, so full of health right now. Um, just I don't know, any early thoughts on either, just kind of being back in spring training and seeing these guys get there. Anything on Casey Legumina's release point, or anything
Yeah.
you're feeling as we're kind of getting stuff out of Peoria, and then Jake, you can pick up from there.
Yeah. I love watching the guys show up with new pitches and all that stuff. Bryce Miller is such a menace. Like he is gonna have 12 different pitches by next year. It's wild. So yeah, it's been really fun. I'm really glad to see Gregory Santos throwing and throwing full. And I really hope that he can be a part of this team this year. That would be huge. So I like to see that. I like to see and hear Gabe Spire just getting his velo back, and Daniel Kramer writing about the off-season work he did and adding some muscle. So that's all good stuff. And then it's fun to see some of the hitting content start to come out. And I just am going to watch over the next week and a half, to see that everyone's healthy. Like at this point, just no soggy arm reports. Like just everyone be healthy, please. And let's just like ease into spring training games. That is like the most important thing right now is no soggy arms.
I just try to get that eye back in. Yeah, like you said, it's really good to see everybody back on throwing. Emerson Hancock is also hanging around. I'm not sure if we've seen any clips or anything of him throwing a bullpen or anything, but he's definitely around. He's apparently developed a couple more pitches over the offseason. But okay, and this is what really interests me, right? At the end, he did an interview with Brock and Salk, I think yesterday, and at the end they asked him, this being a stacked 5-man rotation, could he transition into a relief role? And he said he could adjust to it. Right now he's a starter, but I think so. He said, I definitely think if it was one of those things where we needed to do it or we needed to make that change, I definitely think I could adjust to it. Which, listen, okay, I've been saying it. I've been saying it. Emerson Hancock,
You did.
reliever. Um, I believe it's possible. I believe in him.
We've got complete belief in it on Jake's part on the screen here, and then
That's
Brittany's
great,
just
man.
kind of shaking her head like,
I have total faith.
Okay, well, you'll have to work on convincing me.
"Hey, I mean, he surely saw our episode and he saw Jake say it and
Yes.
said, maybe I
Yes.
should be." In his little
Yes.
southerny Georgia accent, he said, "Maybe I can be a reliever." I don't know what that
That's
is.
Wow. Wow. Hopefully we
I'm
don't
not
have
saying
many
that around
listeners in
him.
the South.
I don't know. It is interesting to kind of see. I think we've all kind of talked about the invites and such, but seeing some of the guys that are there to throw, I think I talked about Hunter Cranton last time, and
Yeah.
him being what was he, Creighton? He's a closer at Creighton. He threw a handful of innings in Modesto. He seems like a fun guy. And then there's just kind of the innocuous content, like seeing Cal Raleigh's gloves. Woo! I mean, the gold and the platinum's nice for sure.
Platinum's so
Um,
cool.
It's
So
so
happy for him.
you know, oh, it's so well deserved. Yeah. Like seeing Darius Valdez, who was Andres Munoz's roommate with the Padres in the minor league system, and he's 6'8". Like that's a big dude. Um, I don't know if he'll land, but like could be fun. Then seeing Neftali Feliz come in and be like, wow, you. So it's fun. I think like Brittany and I talked about just with spring training getting underway, like it's always nice to just get that content. Like seeing Mariners Twitter be like, "Oh, I can't wait to see Divish post videos of these bullpens."
Hmm.
I wonder about that guy's phone storage. Um,
Oh, he definitely posts and deletes
yeah, I would hope
for
so.
sure.
Um,
Um,
does he know how to do that?
that's a
You
great
give him a
question.
lot of credit, Jake.
We
As
gotta
long as he's
ask him.
around the guy, that's yeah. Then when I
My
see
favorite,
him
yeah,
in a few weeks, I'll be like,
yeah.
"How do you manage the storage?" He's like,
He's actually like a Dropbox premium member, you know.
yeah, okay." Um, and
My
then
favorite Divish video I've seen so far, by the way, is the tags at home practice with the catchers,
yeah.
oh
where they have a relay, like throw a ball in home, and then I'm not sure who it is, but one of the coaches is there with a yoga ball and just chucks it
yeah.
at the catcher. Love that. That's
Is
great
that
fun.
Arnrick? It might
I think
be.
it was, yeah.
I
That is
recognize
a
that strong
choice.
jawline.
I went on a rant about that this morning. It's funny you bring that up,
You
Jake.
did?
I had a coach that used to take when we were practicing indoors,
Hmm.
uh one of the like carts that like lunch ladies used to push around, and he'd put like all the ball bags on it to like weigh it down and throw it into me as I'm fielding play from the outfield, and
Oh man,
that was way different than a
yeah, that's like
giant
30
workout.
pounds.
My God.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, he'd just roll that into us like as fast as possible.
be careful doing that around Mitch Garver, all right? Like you
Yeah,
need him to
well,
get
Mitch Garver
to
does need the exercise ball.
you
That's for
need
Yeah,
sure.
I'm like watching this video now. I'm like, all right, I can tell which one is Garver. All right.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's always, especially the early days before we get to games, like it's just kind of like you're looking for scraps. Um, the smaller things like Jonathan Diaz was DFA'd and but he's back on an invite.
Mm,
So,
that's right. Yeah.
there's that. This one we kind of go into I just talked about him, one of them at least, because we kind of did some of the questions around spring training and talked about the players and such. And since there's nothing going on, we've kind of got to go more in that direction. And it goes to the Mitches. And, I don't think anyone had supreme confidence in either one of them going into last year. If you did, hey, I hope you're okay, first of all. Second, as Jake mentioned before we started, I wonder if you tried the Mitch witch and which side was better. He says the newer Mitch was better. I don't know. I didn't eat it. The calzone is good though. I did like that. Anyway, like the expectations for these guys this year, I think they're very different in my opinion, and I'm sure I don't think that's too outlandish to say because you're looking at Garver and he's either, he's gonna catch whenever Cal doesn't, which is like what 10 games out of the year if Cal had it. If Cal had his way, he'd catch every game.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but then also he was signed originally to be your DH. Um, and obviously like the chase numbers were good, the walk numbers were good, everything else not so good.
The actual H part of DHing.
Yeah, well, the designated part, he was designated for sure.
Yeah,
He was
really
one
good
of
at
the
being
hitters
designated.
of all
Yeah,
time. Um, but then I look at Mitch Haniger and I think we've brought it up here with this outfield. Like your outfield's set. You don't need to look at it. Like and even in terms of backups, like Luke Raley, if you need another guy, I'm going to Luke Raley before I'm going to Mitch Haniger, right? So if he can't field, which he already didn't do last year very well, um, you hit him, right? Oh, your DH spot's already filled by another guy named Mitch. Like, I just wonder, it was so fascinating waiting for him to pick up his player option, right? Because it's like it makes sense for him to do so, but like it would be ideal if he didn't. And now you've got that money hanging around. It's just a tough situation with him, right? Because like you have like he was so beloved here. He was a big deal like when he could stay healthy, right? I remember the five tool Mitch Haniger bobblehead, right? Um, he was part of that 22 team. He gets traded. I no, yes. Like I don't know. I don't know where I'm at with Mitch. Either Mitch. So we'll go the other way as we did Brittany first last time. Jake, I want to hear your expectations or your outlook in 2025 for the Mitches here, which I know it might be difficult to put together. And then Brittany for you, because again, like at least with my train of thought here, it seems like Mitch Haniger it will hardly touch the field, and it doesn't make sense given the money. But not a lot of stuff makes sense with this organization and how they spend money, right? So,
yeah. I mean, I think Garver can still be productive. I think he's definitely got like a role. I think um, just the walk rate makes me happy. Happier than a lot of the Mariners hitters at the very least. And I do have faith in his catching ability more so than I ever did for your Sebi Zavala. Um, and knowing literally nothing about Blake Hunt, so can't say anything. Those regards, I'm pretty high on Garver, and like I said, before the show, his side of the sandwich was better. Um, the Haniger side of the sandwich, on the other hand, was pretty bad. And I just don't have any confidence in the original Meech anymore. Sadly, is we'll always have that game 161 in 2021. Um, we'll always have him for like kind of I don't want to say the romance of it, but kind of yeah, like that 2010s scrappy team that um, never quite put it together. But I don't think he's got much of a. It's really mean to say. I don't think he's got much of a future.
I think it's
Besides,
realistic though.
yeah, but I mean, he's gonna settle down some plantation in Idaho, and
Look at chemtrails.
yeah, exactly.
We just gave that to you on a platter, Brittany.
Yeah, yikes. Not touching that.
Hey,
Um, yeah, I think he's doesn't have anything left in the tank. Unfortunately, love him to death and thankful for everything he's given the organization, but it looks pretty clear that he doesn't have much left in the tank. What will be interesting is when he inevitably starts the season out hot, because he
oh,
just has a way of doing that. And we all go, hey, maybe, maybe we see a bounce back, and then I feel like he might be gone by June, end of June. Um, Garver is interesting, and I've kind of been beating the bounce back drum for him. Um, People have pointed out the weird trend of him having a good offensive season every odd year. So 2023, 2021, now we're into 2025. So I don't know how much I really buy into that. But I do buy into the idea of um, it's a difficult adjustment moving up to the cold Seattle Pacific Northwest and hitting in that ballpark where he had not seen success before, and trying to make adjustments and struggling. So then pressing even more. And then it's just a downward spiral from there. Looking at his baseball savant page, he got eaten alive by sliders last year.
Mm.
And he saw sliders at the second highest frequency. He had a -9 run value on sliders. In 2023, when he was really, really solid offensively, he had a positive run value on all pitches. So he really struggled with sweepers too. So breaking pitches, he's going to have to work on. He's going to have to, that's has to improve. But he still creams four seam fastballs. He can hit a changeup just fine. I think there's still stuff left in the tank. Um, the other part of Garver for me is health
Mhm.
because his I think he played the most last year, had the most plate appearances of his entire career because every year he has some injury, whether it's what did he have a wrist, an ankle, I think he had a lat strain at one point. So over the years, these things have just compiled and he's never been able to stay on the field. He needs to be able to stay on the field because they do not have another uh, option right now at backup catcher. So need him to stay healthy, need him to see breaking pitches better and stop pressing so much if he starts out cold and just have a average. I would take 98 WRC plus from him. Like average to slightly below average at this point, I will take from him. If he could be what they're paying him to be, that's the ideal scenario. But beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, 98 with a couple standout home runs, and I'm honestly happy. And I'll remember the
Yep.
season positively.
Yep.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it's pretty. Yeah, Mitch Haniger is old Yeller here, unfortunately. Um, it is tough, and Jake, you said you don't know if you want to say it, but I think it is fair to romanticize that a little bit. It's part of the reason people love baseball so much, right? Is you can kind of romanticize these guys because they come up with big moments throughout 162 games, right? I mean, you get to learn about them throughout. There's no other sport like that plays that many games, and you hear all this stuff so much about these players, good or bad, wink, about them, and so I understand it, but yeah, at this point, yeah, I think the goose is cooked here. Um, it is just tough knowing like being around, the clubhouse and knowing how hard he works and obviously wanting to fix it. I can only imagine how tough it is to dedicate so much time and effort to wanting to be better, and it's just not there anymore, right? Um, yeah, hey man, I mean, it's a good chunk of money. Like 14.5 mil is it's more than I'll ever see. Um, and with Garver, I really do agree. I think he is a pretty clear bounce back candidate. You know, Brittany, you talked about it, just kind of integrating into a different space than where he'd been. And then obviously you'll both remember the I don't mean to say dramatic in terms of like calling him a baby, but dramatic in terms of like how wild it was to hear the death threats and stuff like that about Garver, right? And that's tough. I mean, that's just stuff you don't want to see. There's no place for that. I understand the frustration. I mean, I think all of us, anyone covering the Mariners is like, wow, this guy, you know. Um, but yeah, the odd number thing is kind of fun to look into, right? But also the fact that he will get opportunity to be able to bounce back, unlike with Haniger. Like again, even if he does somehow this offseason he went off into a ice tub barrel and he figured out life. Like, where's he playing, dude? There is no spot. I don't need him playing in the field because one, you've got better players out there. You've got healthier players out there. Sorry. You know, it's just the opportunity, it's just very clear which
Hmm.
uh just has the better opportunity to have a even somewhat positive year. So enough talking about Mitches and witches and sandwiches. Which is a perfect segue to players with the most to prove this upcoming season. And I'm gonna not mention those guys because we've kind of already talked about them in that regard. I've kind of got a decent list here, so bear with me. I broke it down to kind of pitchers, infielders, and outfielders. Pitchers, like, it's kind of hard to pick the pitching staff apart. I know that's their job to pick people apart, but there's just so many quality arms there, or guys who, we talk about Gabe Spire, like who have the opportunity to bounce back and have shown good things. I'm going with Edward Bizardo, Gregory Santos, and Carlos Vargas. Um, Bizarre, well, kind of all of these guys a little bit because they have great stuff, and they either can't control it or they can't stay on the mound, right? Like Santos, it was so exciting watching his outing in Anaheim, and he's
Oh,
so pumped up and he's jazzed up, and you're like, wow, we got another dog in the bullpen, and then he just like there was a stuff with the shoulder and something. Whenever I hear about an injury and it's we don't know what it is. Like if the most like some of the most talented doctors in the world can't figure you out, that is a problem, right? Um,
He's just built different,
He's
derogatory.
built wrong. Yeah. Well, no, like there was the he got pulled out of a different Angels game here in Seattle, right? Then I think at a different point in the home game there was a thing where he did the death drop and he fell down and
yeah,
I thought he was knocked out. I was like, what the hell? And he popped back up.
it was
He's
weird.
uh and then there's been the talk like, is Gregory Santos just an idea? And I'm like, I really hope he's more than that. Because I mean, you gave up what Prelander Baroa to Chicago in that deal.
Hmm.
Um, and good luck developing talent in the White Sox organization. Like, good luck. Um, but Santos just seems like such a what if guy, and so that's why I'm like, hey, I think if he can stay on the mound, he can be a great tool for this bullpen, right? Um, Bizardo, I'm not gonna say great tool. I don't know if he's got that in him, but you will need other lower end guys, and I think we've talked about him on this show before. Like the stuff can be there, but the control isn't, and that's just been such a big thing. And you've been able to see the Mariners pitching staff fix guys to an extent with control issues. If they can't fix you, and with Vargas, like I've heard good things about his stuff, but he just kind of hung out in AAA, when it was part of that salary dump, one of a few salary dumps that year when he was acquired. So it's
Hmm.
like when there's gonna be bullpen spots open, like there's an opportunity for you to do something there. Um, I'm sorry, again, I know I had a list. Infielders wise, these two kind of are similar in the fact that they're young and they could make an impact on this infield just because the Mariners didn't do anything to improve it, really. Ryan Bliss and Tyler Locklear. Like Bliss, arguably, you have the chance to go out there and you were a guy that people were infatuated with, right? When he was in the lineup, they're like, "Where's Ryan Bliss? Where's Ryan Bliss?" And then they got in and he really struggled against fastballs and just about anything else, right? Like he seems like he can be a lot of fun. Is a smaller guy, yes, but he seems like an easy guy to root for. Um, but and he's surely going to get some time at the big league level with Dylan Moore at second base, right? So hey, I would love for you to somehow become something and force Dylan Moore back into his super utility role. But you've got to prove that. Tyler Locklear, again, like he wasn't the second coming of Christ or whatever deity you want to look at, but he was somewhat looked at as your first baseman of the future, right? And we've talked about him on this show before. Like, he just didn't show it. Like, he had that first career homer against the White Sox. That was so fun. I've got photos of that.
I
But
was
he also,
there.
oh, there you go. Were you? Wow. The season is
Yeah.
just, I can't wait till I'm back in back in the press box and Jake's doing shenanigans. Oh, Brittany will get to experience that. How wonderful.
Hey.
All the shenanigans we have, like me being named Meet Jesus. Anyway, um, yeah, with Locklear, I mean, like, Perry Hill can fix a lot of things, right? Tyler Locklear, he had some things that you would like to see fixed. This is a great opportunity in spring to kind of get some tips from Perold. I really like those are two guys that could really help you if they're able to figure some things out. I don't have confidence in them doing that though. The other infielder is Jorge Polanco. I don't think I need to say too much about that, right? It's like
Yeah.
the Mariners had so much confidence in you, and we finally like I remember after they traded for him, we wanted this guy for years. And then, oh, well, he's broken. Did you know that he was broken when you got him? Like, and he's supposed to be fully healthy now. He's on a 1 year deal with a vesting option, right? Um, like, hey, if you want to get a bigger deal next year, you need to do something this year. And then my last guy, so I can stop yapping at you, um, is Dom Canzo. Again, I talked about Mitch Haniger. This outfield is stocked. Like, we don't need any other admission. I'm sorry. Dom Canzone's another guy that they acquired what in the was that the Seawald trade? Um
Yeah.
from Arizona. Thank you. Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure, but they do so many trades with guys who just don't who end up being quadruple A guys and like, oh well. I mean, the power seems to be there. He does the Italian shtick. Like I said before we started on the show here, he had that diving catch in the outfield. I didn't realize he had that talent in him. I didn't know he had that in him. Like people always ask, why isn't Dom Canzone in? He's got power. I'm like, well, like he batted 172 last year at the big league level. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, it's not. Oh wait, no, that's Mitch Garver. Sorry, another bad guy. Batted 196. Not too much better.
No.
Um, the swing decisions are very poor. There's a lot of holes in that swing. It's bad, and he gets hit in the PCL. That's like a lot of people get hit in the PCL. Like, I think there's a lot of opportunity, largely with the hitters there, right? To take spots and to contribute and to earn more, because like outside again the outfield, like there's spots in the infield, same in the bullpen. There's places for like you're gonna need someone outside of your horses and Andres Munoz, and when you get Matt Brash back, and hopefully you don't break him again. Um, and I just like there are guys who have the talent to do so, and I'd like to see them put into action. Brittany, I'm tired of talking. I'm gonna go to you, and then Jake, have you wrap it up there.
Yeah, those are great ones. I agree with that. I'll throw a couple more. I think Victor Robles has a lot to prove still. He has a lot of years in Washington, the other Washington, in a Nats uniform where he was a bad baseball player. And that was kind of that's the overwhelming kind of I guess, picture of his career up until last year, up until a few months last season. So I think he has to prove himself that he can be probably not the level of the player that we saw last season, but that he can be a significant contributor at the big league level. From July to the end of the year, he was running a 389 BABIP. So we're going to see regression. That's not going to hold. But if he can keep making content contact and running, a slightly above average OPS and anchoring that top of the order, I love that for him. I want that for him. I think we'll get it. I'm like cautiously optimistic about Victor Robles not falling off a cliff. I think a lot of people are kind of maybe expecting that to happen, and he's a different player with the Mariners. So I think he's got stuff to prove. A weird one that I will throw out there, and not that he has to prove to anyone other than himself because he holds himself to such high standards, is George Kirby. He didn't have a great second half of the season last year. He, let's see, from August on ran a 4.75 ERA, which was the worst, significantly the worst of all the starters. Um, he was giving up a lot of hard contact. He did not have a great second half, and I know he's better than that. I firmly believe that George Kirby is ace material, and I think we saw a lot of frustration from him as well. He's handling it so much better than, say, his rookie season. So it doesn't read quite as much on his face when he's visibly frustrated. But I think we saw some frustration there from him in the second half. And I think he knows he's better than that. And I would, and I have no evidence to suggest this, but knowing George Kirby and just his demeanor, he's probably looking at Logan Gilbert and now Bryce Miller, kind of maybe passing him up and going, whoa, 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 y'all are forgetting about me. I'm a dude. I'm the guy. I can be an ace. So I am excited to see what kind of attitude George Kirby comes out with to start this year because I do think he can be an ace, but he struggled at the second half of last season. So that's kind of my dark horse weird one.
No, it's totally fair. I totally forgot the August game where they just left him out to die against the
To
Tigers
die.
for like 11 runs. That was that was a crime done unto George, frankly. Um, but no, kind of, I'm gonna go along kind of the same general vein, and I'm gonna say that I need to see Luke Rayleigh make the next step. Because I think his 24 season was, I think we can call it successful in that he came to a new team and that he really, he stood out, especially kind of at the start of the year. Let me check his monthly splits here. Um, do, do, do. Yeah, kind of actually, well, in the summer, May and June was kind of his best time for the year, and he was really, really fun to watch. I love watching him run. I need, I want to see him make it that next step. I want to see probably him be, you know, if Tyler Locklear, like you mentioned, can't become the first baseman of the future. Well, Luke Rayleigh is 30, so not too much future there. But I do need to see him kind of make the next step and prove that he is, um, still kind of worth developing, right? Um, On the pitching side of things, I really like your pick of Carlos Vargas, Charles. He's got a really fast fastball, but his cutter just doesn't cut. I need to see him. I need to see him add some break. Are you gonna cut me? This is a threat. You don't need to do that. I need to do that. Look at this. Look at this. Do you want some of this?
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna do this.
What are we doing?
Let me look at you.
Whoa! Oh my goodness!
Let me look at you. No, you guys bring up two great players in that regard. I think I kind of went more like you need to prove a lot as opposed to guys who are somewhat more established.
Yeah.
Luke Rayleigh less so established, right? Like, I think that is a question, at least like keeping an eye on what the fan base says, which can be detrimental to your mind if you do too much of. Is like Luke Rayleigh had a pretty solid year. Like it wasn't the greatest in the world, but it was pretty decent, pretty good by his standards. And for a guy who will get what the lion's share of time at first base unless something happens. Please, Big Luke, don't break. Like you ever see the guy run? It looks like it's fascinating. And then you see him throw and he's like his arms out. He's a marvel of a human being.
He'll charge across
Um
the field and pick up whoever hit the walk-off hit and
yeah, well then you
throw
want
it
to
his
make sure he
back.
doesn't
Yeah.
break whoever hit the walk off. Like with Leo Rivas, I'm like, you're gonna squish him like a bug. Like, be
hmm
careful.
It doesn't
Um
look pretty, but it gets the job done.
and yes, as
That last Haniger walk-off last year, I thought he was going to
oh
kill him. When he got out there to second base, and I thought he was. Oh, okay, they're both going down. Then we're going to see a football tackle here in front of God and
Luke Rayleigh
everybody.
could play linebacker. Like Seahawks need to If they don't get Ernest Jones back.
I mean, hey, if we need somebody to be an interior lineman.
He's your
Ooh.
guy.
Okay, we're getting too much into circling the nest here. Um, yeah, no, I'd love to see what Luke really does to follow up because again, he's going to get a lot of like again the plate appearances will be there. Like I'm not saying that Perry Hill will correct his. Can you imagine if we get to spring and I we see videos of him throwing and he's like a normal first base? I'm like, wow, Perry Hill. Then I would like create one of those like Jesus candles and put Perry Hill's face on it. I'd be like, oh, thank you, Sir
We
Hill.
probably need one of those
They
anyway.
should do that as a giveaway this year.
We
Yeah,
need one of
that's a
those
good one.
anyway, and I'm gonna keep using my Perry Hill liked that meme of whenever an infielder does something good.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, Luke really makes a lot of sense, and then George is a good point because I remember in the second half of the season thinking, this is not George Kirby. This is not the pitcher that we've grown accustomed to. That does look like a world beater pretty often, right? That basically said, I'm gonna use it now. Okay. Cover your ears if you need to. That basically said "fuck you" to the Astros in that wild card. Oh no, sorry, I'm so used to wild cards. In that playoff game here in Seattle, right? I mean, he basically said "fuck you." I'm George Kirby. You're gonna learn about me now, right? Like, you didn't see that in the second half of the season. And to Brittany's point, yeah, he's been better about it. I still get nervous going into the pressers after the game when he doesn't pitch well because there's snappy George.
Yeah.
Um, like I think the most good emotion we got out of him was when he wore someone got the like angry Kirby, like Kirby with a knife shirt. He actually seemed happy to talk about that. I was like, wow, you actually seem interested to talk about something. And I agree with Brittany a lot. I think George Kirby can be your ace. I think in like a lot of the other rotations in this world, he would be your number one guy, right? I really thought last year, going into last year, he would certify himself kind of like Logan did. So yeah, I think this is a hey, he's George, he's got that whole like Rye, New York. I don't know where he gets it. I don't think New York's a real like get it out of the mud place, like some other states and locations are. But he's got some sort of chip on his shoulder. I don't know how that started, right? But he's got that, and I look for like I'll occasionally tweet like I love watching good pitching. I tweeted the other day, I was like, I need to watch good pitching again. 95% of the time, you know what I'm talking about? George fucking Kirby. Like, yeah. And Bryce is a good point as well in terms of guys passing him up because it is always fascinating learning. I'm trying to, I can't do I'm not going to try to do his accent to not offend the Texas man in the call here. Um, like I just tried it. I'm like, what do you mean you just tried it? Like wasn't he the one who just tried Mike Bauman's curveball?
Yeah,
Like,
the
what do
knuckle
you
curve.
mean you tried that, right? So yeah, I think you guys bring up some really good ones in that regard. So I don't know. It's fun, and we finally get to see some of it again. Take take only so much out of spring training games, right?
Yeah.
Um, First squad workout, full squad workout is Tuesday the 18th, so the day after this show comes out. We get a few days of, probably just cage content, maybe more pictures of Dom Canzone with a cricket bat for some reason. Don't know what that was about.
I do.
Is it squaring the ball up?
Make sure that you're palm up, palm down at contact. If you're
Mm,
rolling over,
that's
it's
smart.
not, it corrects it real fast.
Well, if it does anything to correct Dom Canzone's swing and the Swiss cheese holes on that, keep doing it. Um, then we finally get games this weekend. We can talk about games, guys. Wait, well, how many of them can you watch? One, two,
Friday and Sunday, I
two
think.
games, two games.
I will
Otherwise,
take it.
Baseball!
I will take it.
I'm listening to Rick. That's fine. I like people be like, "Oh, you listen to the radio?" Yes, I listen to Rick Riz. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I love
Um,
walking around Seattle and like just getting Rick Riz jump scared whenever he like does promo sounds for somewhere.
oh yeah.
Like at SeaTac when he does a safety
Yep.
announcement.
Oh my
Rick
gosh.
Riz here. I'm like, Rick, he's in the walls. He's in the
Rick!
wall.
I'll get you out. I'll get you out.
He's not a tall guy, so it wouldn't be too hard. I love Rick. So yeah, we got Mariners at Padres, the illustrious Peoria Sports Complex Championship there.
Woo.
On the 21st, that's at 12:10 p.m. Pacific time at the Anaheim Angels. They still exist. And as Brittany kind of went down the rabbit hole, are trying to compete
Oh
this year.
no.
Ron Washington's like, hey, bye. I understand he has to say it because he's a manager, right? But it's like it's so funny seeing him, we're gonna compete. I'm like, hey, you and the husk of Mike Trout, who will still homer against the Mariners.
Yeah.
Oh
Um
man.
and the cardboard cutout of Anthony Rendon, right? Um, that game's at 12:10 as well on Saturday, and then against the Diamondbacks at 12:10. As Brittany mentioned, Friday and Sunday are both available. I think those are both the webcast games because it just says MLB Video. So I believe that's just the webcast. The Mariners will surely put the link out, so just look out for that. We'll retweet all of that. Um, yeah, that'll be a lot of fun to look at. Is there anything that anyone wants to touch on, sort of a last call here before we wrap up? I think the shortest Mariner Mondays we have ever done.
Wow. But without games, I'm so excited.
Go M's. We got games. I'm
Anything? We're
stoked.
good.
Goms.
Let's
We're
get out
good.
of here. Let's keep the Ryan Divish catcher tag at home video on repeat in my background. It's just been going on in the background. I just see navy blue and teal. So Northwest green. Sorry, let me be a purist. Northwest green.
Please.
It's not teal. Get it right.
You know what I miss? I miss the powder blue spring training uniforms.
Me too.
Why would you?
I do. I really do. Yeah, I'm with you.
It doesn't look right wearing the Northwest greens. And okay, sorry, we're gonna get into a rant. Until we see you next time, take care of yourselves. Be well. Get an Abraham Toro signed and framed jersey. Don't think about chemtrails, and do whatever you can to make yourself. Nope, make today a great day. You can make yourself a great day too if you'd like.
Make yourself a great person.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, how about those M's?
Oh, I'm excited.
I know. Where are you going to watch all those away games, though?
Away games. Huh. I was thinking of coming here since, after all, Rough and Tumble is the home of circling Seattle sports.
I love that idea. Hope to see y'all here.